I think Texas Tech has a couple of guys that can shoot the ball. I like Devion Harmon. He has increased his percentages every single year he's been on a college campus, and there's been a lot of college campuses that my man has been on. He's on his third, I think, in 4 years, and he's improved every single season that he's been there. He fits a role. He's more of a traditional point guard, more than Mark Adams has had in recent memory, right? And Kerwin Walton was an interesting one at Carolina because he got stuck behind Caleb Love. He got stuck behind RJ Davis. He got stuck behind Leaky Black. His freshman year shot like 46% from three. Sophomore year under Hubert Davis, he falls out of favor. But if you go back and look at his film, he's got some shot creation ability in his game. And if he's able to do that at a high level, watch out. This Texas Tech team might have ended up with the biggest steal out of everybody. And it's Texas Tech, we know they're going to be crazy. We know their fans are going to be a little bit nuts, but they have some shot makers on that roster. And I didn't even mention Kevin Obanor, who is a quality shooter, didn't shoot
Kevin
it as well.
Who?
Banner.
Kevin who?
O'Banner, sorry. Somebody who didn't shoot it as well last season, but they're during his time at Oral Roberts was a plus 40% three-point shooter. So they've got guys that could make shots. That puts them ahead. Plus, you already know the no middle D down in Lubbock is going to be really difficult. That's a team looking ahead that can make some shots. You know they're going to defend. They have a pure point guard. They have some shot makers. Like Mark Adams is put together, and he's recycling guys every year, which makes it really difficult to keep up with in July and August. But he's put together a roster that can make some shots, and that's really going to defend.
I wonder in watching them play, a lot of people struggle with that. They obviously been number one in the country for so many years, been consistently great defensively, but Duke kind of exposed that in the tournament. I mean, just emptying that guy out, clearing it out, getting a baseline drive, and then getting two guys on the weak side. I mean, I won't say exposed it, but they exploited it, I'd say. And knowing what they do, I mean, they're going to defend well. And Kerwin, like you said, is going to knock down shots. I would add one more team in that, and I think, like I said before, I think it's Kansas. I mean, because they're going to be relying on freshmen to come in and be their best scorers. There's no great shooter returning. I mean, they lost their three best perimeter shooters. You know, we spoke on that. So when we talk about their returning guys, I would add another. We know they're going to defend. We know how great they are, but they're a team that is going to be relying on freshmen. That's going to be their better 3-point shooters. So I think that's kind of microcosm of the league. That's one of the reasons why we're so high on Baylor. I think they're the proven commodity with their guard play that we know can make shots. Everyone else is kind of, I'd say, streaky at best.
So what we've heard so far from RC on these previews, T.O., is that Kansas stinks, Duke stinks, Wake Forest to the Final Four,
and Boston College.
BC's winning the ACC. That's where we're at right now with it.
I didn't say that.
Well, while we're on the topic of Texas Tech, I think this is a perfect transition here because I'm worried about them not having Fardaws, because I do think that the way that this roster is built is one where so last year they had 27 guys that were 24 years old, that were 6'6" with 7-foot wingspans and 220 pounds of pure raw athleticism, right? All they did was switch everything, and there were just waves of these dudes that they could bring in. This year, in theory, they had 2 5s, right? They had a point guard that was more natural, and they had a bunch of pieces they kind of fill in around those. It looked a lot more traditional. If you don't have that guy where you know you could throw the ball to one the block, T.O., and he's going to go get a bucket, how big of a concern is that for you? Because I know there are reports out there that they're hoping that Fardaws will be back at the start of Big 12 play, and hope is a wonderful thing. So, how concerned are you about the Fardaws injury with this group?
Well, Daniel Bacho's got to be really good, and he's been good in spot minutes, but he's got to be good the entire year. But that kind of limits your consistent inside presence. But this team still has guys that can get to the rim. I think Devion Harmon can do that. I think he can get into the lane.
Definitely.
And then who puts on rim pressure? That's the biggest thing. There's a lot of different ways to put rim pressure on. Is it with a post threat that it could have been with Fardaws? It could be. Is it Devion Harmon getting into the lane? There's a lot of different ways to do that. You just kind of have to manage your expectations a little bit. But going back, I was thinking about what Duke exposed Texas Tech at. And what they did was Duke had quality individual isolation players. Paolo Banchero, They have Jeremy Roach, who is playing out of his mind, who's going to have a fantastic year this year. Guys that can get past that first line of defense by themselves.
They also have guys. That's the build for what you need to be able to beat the no middle. You need
you got to have individual scorers
that can get baseline, that can create, that can draw the help, and are big enough to be able to see over the top and find that skip pass.
And how many teams are they going to play against that have that?
Now in the Big 12, I mean, the only one that I can really say that does is Baylor, but at the same time, Baylor also has smaller guards, so that's a difficult thing to deal with. So I'm not
Kansas State.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get we'll get there.
But let's not forget, they're smaller.
Yeah,
their guard play. They're not as big at their guard play. We talk about that too. They're not, like I said, that consistent. It reminded me of the old Illinois back in the day. They had where they were just Amon Gilliam and all those guys just switching parts. That's UNLV, but more there, Kendall Gill and those guys, and they just switching parts. Davion Harmon is not a big guy.
No, I got a name for you guys, right? Remember this name, Jalen Tyson,
Texas transfer.
Over the summer, he was as good as anybody in that gym, and there's a lot of good players that were in that gym. He's a guy that I think could have a breakout season.
How was Elijah Fisher?
I think it's going to be a little bit of a transition. He's super talented, but I think it's going to be a little bit of a transition to get him ready. I mean, look, when you're a freshman going into the Big 12, there's a reason it's very difficult for freshmen to put up any kind of numbers. If you go back and look at the all freshman teams in the Big 12, there's not a lot of guys putting
5.5 points a game.
Yeah, there's not a lot of guys putting up big numbers. The Big 12 is a monster if you're a freshman. And I think Elijah Fisher is going to have some growing pains. But look, at the end of the day, he's going to be the kind of guy February, March, where he can kind of hit his ceiling. I just real quick, I just want to say, if you guys are into college basketball, make sure you subscribe to the Field of 68 Daily. The link is in the description below, whether you're listening to this in the podcast feed or you're watching this on YouTube. Best way to keep up to date on everything college basketball. All right, I want to go into T.O.'s tires. We did this last night, RC. T.O.'s tires. Do we all agree that Kansas and Baylor are in a tire of their own at the top of?
First of all, I'm sick of this. So just to make a point, I mispronounced a few things.
Oh, man.
I just heard RC say Illinois. So we're just going to ignore this. We're just going to ignore this.
Illinois.
Fair, but as long as Kevin Obener is okay with the way
I was going fast, and I corrected it.
I get ready to say Till. That's what we're doing now.
Yeah, I'll do it.
I'll do it.
All right. So hey, RC, I'm trying to deflect the hate a little bit. I'm trying to deflect the hate. That's all this is. All right, sorry. Go ahead.
All right. So Kansas is plus 215 to win the conference, according to our friends over at Bet River Sportsbook.